Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 2024. If you remember last time, we had the draft in which we drafted George Cullen, a new point guard, after we, or at least I, mulled over the option of trying to trade for Brandon Sullivan for way too long. I apologize um, for getting caught up in that. But now we've settled on our contracts. I believe free agency is what is next, and we have a lot of cap space to work with. So we're going to try to, in this video, fill out our roster with the free agency using the cap space we have. And hopefully I can get to the start of the new season at the end of this video. Don't know if I'll get to play any games or not, but that's sort of the goal here with this video. So let's go ahead and get started. It says contracts up here, but we've already, at the end of the last video, if you remember, I kind of decided to, we extended the contract with Steve Bennett. I probably will eventually extend the contract with Fordson, but I'm not going to do it right now. His contract doesn't run out till next year anyway. I don't have an option to extend Colin Richardson's contract. I kind of thought about doing that, where he's got such potential. So he's still very unloadable if we can find somebody to worthy of trading him for. He might not even want to stick around. We might have to, he might walk away as it is. So I'm really heavily leaning on getting rid of Richardson, which is something I've said twice already and have looked into twice already. I haven't done so yet. Maybe by the end of the upcoming trade deadline in this upcoming season, we can have him offloaded for a draft pick or something. But we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and continue because there's no more I want to do personally with the contracts. These are the contract options here. And Cullen, if Cullen were a little bit better, I would go ahead and try to wrap him up for maybe 3 or 4 seasons. But he's only a 2.5 with potential 3 stars, which is fine. That's certainly a solid point guard. I don't know if it's a franchise-changing point guard. We got him at the 11th pick. And he's fairly worthy of that 11th pick. I mean, there's plenty of starting players that have been taken around 10th or 11th throughout the years. So, I mean, it's a fairly fair pick for us, but I'm not going to extend his contract right at this moment. We'll see how things look at the trade deadline, or maybe at the is there a contract extension deadline? I think. Am I imagining that? I think there's a contract extension deadline in the season as well. That's right around the trade deadline. But anyway, let's get into this. We're going to go ahead and advance on this. I may have to play through the summer league, which is something that personally, what does this mean? Before proceeding, we will need to set up the schedule for the year. Please select from one of the following choices. So we can either have an in-season tournament or not. Personally, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't watch the NBA like I used to. I kind of keep up with it. I kind of think the in-season tournament is confusing and a little bit convoluted even. So I want to decline having an in-season tournament in this upcoming schedule. And now it's time to invite players to the Summer League, which I just mentioned. And I want to make sure we invite Colin and Hooper. I'll just invite everybody I possibly can. Bryant, Asani, Bennett's even still available. Richardson, So that's a pretty solid. I mean, not really solid, but we've at least got a few decent players on that summer league team. So we have 6 spots filled out here. To be honest with you, I never really cared about the summer league. I wish you could just simulate completely by this, or just annex it from having to do it. So for this one thing, what I'm going to do for this one section is just have the computer override and take care of this part, because I don't really care about the summer league. Just get through this really quick. Another email. Summer league play. Yeah, I'm a little curious about how Colin will play in these games, but it's like Spurgeon's. If you just saw that, it's playing on the, is it the Houston Blast? Anyway, basically the equivalent of the Houston Rockets. So he's probably no longer going to be with us, which is unfortunate. I wanted to keep that guy. He lost this opening game, but like I said, I don't. To me, the summer league, I just don't care. I mean, I've had teams perform poorly in the summer league and do really well. Then I've had teams perform really well in the summer league, and it doesn't mean anything, which I think also happens often in real life. Cole had 22 points in that game, which looks kind of promising. Even when they have good games, though, this is against lesser competition. This doesn't really feature a lot of the more better veteran players. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and simulate this way. Okay, and it's already over. It doesn't really last all that long. So, okay, now we're at free agency. We could look to see if anybody, I don't see any of our players' names there. Looks like Bennett was 5th in rebounds per game. That's no surprise, though. And Bennett was also 3rd in blocks per game during the summer league. And that looks like it. I don't see George Colin's name anywhere, so I don't think Colin is going to change our franchise or anything. But I think he's a better point guard than what we currently had. He'll definitely get a piece. And I don't want to go any further. Almost click continue, but I want to take this off because I want to do free agency completely on my own accord. So, and you see over here we have 1 point guard, 2 shooting guards, 1 small forward, 2 power forwards, and 3 centers. So I think our center position is filled up. Looks like we've only got, well, Lopez isn't even around anymore. We've only got 1 point guard. I would like to start Colin, give him starting minutes. I would like to get a backup point guard, maybe a really good small forward if I can afford it, and then go from there. So let's go ahead and let's see who's best available. If you see down here, we have 49 million available in cap status, which is quite a lot. You can do with that pretty well. Um, Spurgeon is up for grabs still. We could try to re-sign him. I do like Spurgeon quite a bit. I think too, if you click on Spurgeon, I go ahead and add him to the targets. You can have a meeting with him. And his top team he's thinking of signing with is Miami. And I'm going to ask him about. Okay, so he says we would have to make up a lot of ground. If you remember, he was unhappy here for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and just let's end our run with Spurgeon, which is the first season. What about Terrell Brown here? A 3.5-star small forward. I wonder the potential 5 stars. So he's 42 years old. That's insane. Why is his potential 5 stars when he's 42? He's going to peak at 48. It's weird. I don't know. That feels like kind of an anomaly or something, like a bug. Man. Well, I hope I'm on the upswing to be a 5-star person when I'm 42. What about Matt Ramsey? That just feels like too weird for me to even consider. Matt Ramsey here is 29. He's a 3-star small forward. I wonder what he wants for a contract. Let's have a meeting with Matt Ramsey here. We'll make him a target. He's really interested in Brooklyn. He wants $22 million for 4 years. I don't know about offering him that, but we could offer him a 3-year contract, maybe a little bit less. Let's see what he says. We have a lot of ground to make up, but I can promise him a lot of playing time because he would be our best person to play at the 3. I can't promise that he'll be the best player or a championship. Or even a deep playoff run. This says can promise him we will have a 3.5-star player or better on our roster while he's under contract. We do have Bennett for a few years, and Fortson. We could go ahead and try to. I wonder if we could go ahead and try to extend Fortson and then promise him that. I'm gonna go ahead and promise him this. It is worth considering. Okay. I'm also going to make him an offer. I'm going to go. Let's see. 20 million. For 3 years with a 3% raise. I think that's a decent offer. And I'm wondering if I can go ahead and go to contracts and get Fortson extended. Cannot offer more than a 2-year extension. Well, break it down to 2 years then. Oh, he wants to do 3 years. We can't do 3 years. It won't let me do 3 years. I tried to do 3 years. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, what's done is done. That's my first offer. I want to try to get a backup point guard to call in as well. So let's take all these off, except for point guards. I could try to re-sign Lopez. Here's Lopez. Does he have any interest? I kind of liked Lopez in a way, even though he's only a 2 stars. I thought he played above that sometimes. Let's have a meeting with Lopez. He wants to resign. Looks like we're his top team anyway. I'm not going to promise him anything, but I will go ahead and make him an offer. He wants $7 million for 2 years. We can give him that. Yeah, 7.5 million. I have to count my commas. I don't want to say 75, 750,000, much less 75,000. Okay, so 7.5 million for 2 years. We'll do a 3% raise. Make an offer. Let's go ahead and see if we can land those two. I expect Lopez to sign pretty quickly. I don't know about Ramsey. No signings today, so they're at least considering it. If you simulate a signing period day and all of a sudden one of the offers over here disappears, it basically means that they're not considering your offer. But so these guys are at least considering our offers. I'm going to go ahead and simulate until they decide and see where we stand. Again, no signings. May take a little time. No signings. A third day. So while we're waiting, how about Draymond Green, huh? Getting in more fights. Just got the notification though he's been suspended indefinitely, which I think is the right decision on that. Also, to talk about more NBA current events. What about Wemby? I mean, he's been playing pretty decent, but I expected the Spurs to do I mean, I didn't expect them to be amazing, but they're awful. Looks like Sacramento signed Dylan Charles to a 4-year contract, which doesn't impact us one way or another. Houston signs Ishmael Granville, which doesn't impact us one way or another. I know here in Kentucky, a lot of people are excited about Reed Shepherd playing for Kentucky this year in college basketball. Uh, did not expect him to be as good as he has been this far, and he's projected in a recent poll to go sixth in the NBA draft, which I don't think will hold up. I don't really expect him to keep playing as well as he has been, but it would be something really cool for this area where I'm from because we're just don't have a lot of sports stars from this area. It'd be really cool. We have re-signed Paul Lopez. So we have our backup point guard, which is the guy we had last year, but I'm fine with Cole and Lopez. I don't think that's a bad, I mean, it's not great, but it's not a bad point guard and backup point guard. Still trying to get Ramsey here. I don't know if he'll sign or not. Let's go ahead and run another day. Looks like the Moose have picked up Derek Spurgeon. Maybe he'll be happy there. Matt Ramsey's still mulling over our contract offer. At least he hasn't rejected it yet. Hey, look at this. The San Antonio Outlaws have signed Matt Ramsey to a 3-year contract. So we just picked up a 3-star small forward. And we still have cap room left to work with. How much do we have left? 20 million still, which is more than enough to sign another good player. We kind of have our needs filled. We have 2 people at each position. Maybe we can get a better power forward. Somebody to kind of take Spurgeon's place. I think we can find a decent power forward for 20 million and be right at the cap, right where we promised the owner we would be. We have a 3-star here, Marcus Sura. Let's have a meeting with Marcus Sura. His top team is Chicago. He also wants 30 mil, which is a lot for a 3-star player, I think. So I'm going to pass on Marcus Sura. That's too much for him, I think. There's Tywan Barnes. Let's have a meeting with Tywan Barnes. 14 mil for 2 years, certainly doable for us. The top team is Oklahoma City. If we do a 2-year contract with him, we can make that promise of a 3.5-star player. I don't see Fortson dropping below that. I don't see Bennett dropping below that. We'll have them for this season and next season, so we can go ahead and make this a building block promise. And I want to give him exactly what he's asking for in an offer. We'll do 14.9. for 2 years at the 3% raise. And we can certainly afford that, and we'll still have $5 million left over in cap space. Hopefully, he'll sign quicker than what Ramsey did. I'm glad we got Ramsey though. If we can get Barnes here, we'll have a pretty decent player at each position in our starting lineup when healthy. Our bench is a little. Hey, we got him. Look at that, Tywan Barnes for 2 years. So I'm already feeling much better about this upcoming team than we had last year. And if you look at our page over here, we've got 12 players out of 15. So this is what our team looks like, which is, I mean, pretty decent. Not amazing, but certainly capable, I think, of at least making the playoffs, I feel like. I'm a little worried, though, about our coaching staff because if you remember, it looks like we're the only team that has like a whole new coaching staff. Because during that coaching signing phase, we were the only team signing new coaches. And we kind of signed players whose star rating, or sorry, coaches whose star rating are worse than the ones we had. And the ones we had weren't very good. So I'm a little worried about the coaching staff, especially since we signed them for multiple years. I don't know if that's going to work out. But team-wise, we should be better than last year. I'm going to go ahead and simulate the rest of free agency. We've got 12 players, which is enough to play a game. When I get to the beginning of the season, I'm going to sign like 3 players from the free agency left over, like to minimum contracts, just to fill the roster out. But I don't want to go crazy in signing players and going over the cap status because we promised the owner we wouldn't. We promised him we'd be right at the cap, which if I'm figuring out if we can get 3 guys at the minimum contract, we'll be right around the cap. If maybe a little bit over, but right around the cap. So I want to go ahead and do that if I can. Is there a way to just? I don't know if there's a way to just simulate the rest of. Well, maybe we can just click through this real quick. I think on last year there was an option to simulate through the free agency once you kind of had the players you wanted. Maybe that's not an option this year. A lot of players signing. I'm curious about that. I can't remember his name. Who was that player we looked at that was like 42 years old with potential 5 stars? That's just funny. Did anybody sign that guy? Terrell Brown. Here he is. That's so interesting. It's strange, man. I guess you can't just go ahead and submit the whole free agency. If I was doing some kind of joke run of a team, I totally would have signed that guy if he would have signed with me. I want to check the email real quick. Maybe there's like an option inbox to simulate the rest of. It doesn't say anything about simulating the rest of free agency in the email either. Well, here we go. I just now noticed something. I feel really stupid. There's I did not even see this until just now. Clickable box is here. Yes, apologize. It looks different than last year. Look, my level of ability to pick up on things and to notice things is very poor sometimes. My parents, they planted an apple tree in their front yard, and it was there for 3 years. And they already had a tree in their yard, and for some reason my mind took it to be the same tree. And then one day I realized, oh, there's two trees. And then I was informed the second tree had been there for 3 years. Anyway, let's look at the rookie options. I don't think we're going to do anything here because I don't think we're going to do anything we haven't already done. This is kind of like contract option 2.0. And I would like to go ahead and wrap up forward some of the contracts, but um, again, I don't think that's what he wants. And we can't give that to him. So um, and they haven't gone through training camp yet, so they wouldn't have grown any since we signed them. So yeah, this will stay exactly the same. Advance. And now it's time for training camp, which means we are nearing the beginning of the next season. And I'm going to go ahead. I always try to pick the person we picked with our first draft pick, which would be George Cullen. I'm not going to do any on post moves because he shouldn't be posting being a point guard. I don't know how good he is at these individual things, though. Is there a way I can? Yeah, of course. As far as free throw shooting, he's an 81, so he's pretty good. Mid range is 71, 69 outside shooting, so maybe focus on his outside shooting. And maybe his defense and rebounding's not great. So outside shooting, defense, and rebounding, maybe focus on those things. Okay, post moves down. We'll do free throws a little bit, but let's do mostly outside shooting. Improving player morale. Let's bump that up a little bit. I do want him to be happy. Steals and blocks. Let's bump this up. So we'll go with that right there. And I'm also going to do point guards here. Let's bump the defensive up a little bit. And let's take the offensive down a little bit. Bump the rebounding up a little bit. Passing up a little bit. Ball handling up a little bit. I don't know if you can run your guys into the ground and have them have some kind of negative effects. I don't want to make these crazy. I actually feel pretty good about most of these over here, so let's run these training camps. In here it will show you how players have improved. I'm mostly interested in Colin. So if you get like one green arrow, it means they've improved a little when it comes to that attribute. If you see like two arrows, like up here with Hooper, it means they improved, a little bit more in that area than just a little bit. Looks like Richardson improved quite a bit. Bennett improved a little bit. Sonny improved quite a bit. I wish Cohen had improved a little bit more than he did. But, I mean, there's a lot of different attributes he's bumping up a little bit in, so I may go ahead. This is D-League assigned, but I don't want to assign anybody to the D-League right now because we've only got 12 players. It does talk about assigning scouting points. And it looks like in this second season we can finally click some of these options. So I want to do like a quick ranking, basic ratings. I can't do that for both though. We don't have a lot of scouting points. Well, at least I want to do a quick ranking for international players as well. Let's do this right here. We can do a quick ranking and basic ratings for the United States region and a quick ranking and scouting report for the international region. That way we kind of cover our basis all around a little bit. So, and like I said, I'm not going to assign anyone to the D League right now because we've only got 12 players. And we're going to go ahead and generate a new draft class for next season. Hopefully we'll make the playoffs. That's the only thing about the NBA, which I understand why it is the way it is, but it's almost one of the worst positions to be in is not to barely make it into the playoffs because you don't really have much of a chance. I mean, you could be like Miami was last year and go to the finals, but that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen very often as an 8 seed. Most of the time, if you barely squeeze into the playoffs, you got a good chance of going home early, which means your playoff run wouldn't have meant much. And also, you won't have a lottery pick. And so it's sort of that middle ground is sort of, bittersweet in a way. Let's go ahead and fill out the rest of the team. Looks like morale is good. Everybody's happy except Bennett and McCleary. But Bennett, whether he's happy or not, we've got that guy for the next 3 seasons. So happy about that. McCleary, I mean, I hope he gets happier. I don't know what to tell him. Go to free agency. One more thing before I do that. I'm just OCD. I like having 3 of each position. So let's try to get a point guard, a shooting guard, and a small forward. We got 3 of each position down here. Let's apply these filters. Okay. Sort this a little bit and just get 3 quick players here. We'll go with Marquis Herbert. We'll sign to a regular contract for a season. Point guard's off since he was a point guard. Oh, I don't want a center either. More power forward. You get Tyron Hargrove, small forward. I do believe this is for 1 season if you do the regular contract. I don't want to sign any of these guys for multiple seasons. And we need a shooting guard, so the way these arrows fall is weird because it looks like, you know, it falls weird. It makes me feel like this means power forward because it's so close to it, but it actually means center. Let's look at all the shooting guards and just pick one. This might seem rushed, and it is. But when filling this out, these guys aren't going to get a lot of playing time as it is. And that sort of completes our roster for this season. So let's look at the team really quick. We've got Cullen, Lopez, and Herbert as our point guards. We got Hooper, Fortson, and Wright as our 2 guards. Bryant, Ramsey, Hargrove as our small forwards. Asani, Hill, and Barnes as our power forwards. Bennett, Richardson, and McCleary, like last year, are our bigs. And as I said earlier, if we can't, and I don't think we can have an option to extend the contract of Richardson, I would like to trade him at the trade deadline for somebody because I don't want to risk him walking away and us getting nothing out of him if he really is a 4-star potential big man, which he still is, I believe. Click on him here. He is. So anyway, it's time for the new season, and I'm excited. And we'll go ahead and get to the first game, and I'll go ahead and save it. And here we are against the Americans. I will look at our depth chart really quick, even though I've got a pretty good idea of what our Cullen, Fortson, Ramsey, Richardson. I don't like that though. I want to start Barnes instead of Richardson. I don't want to start 2 centers. We got Cullen, Fortson, Ramsey, Barnes, and Bennett as our starting lineup. McCleary, Richardson, Lopez, Hill, and Hargrove as our bench players, even though it says 0 minutes on Hill. That's fine though. This is what we're going to go with for our first game against the Americans. And just real quick, I'm curious. They are an 18-point favorite. Goodness. Well, hopefully that is wrong. And that is all I have for you this video. See you next time.